Hey guys, and welcome back to another reading vlog. We should just dive right in. This is a busy reading week. It's a short week for me. I leave on a trip on Friday. It's a short month, so we're just gonna have to get up and go, which is exactly what I did. I'm halfway through a book right now. Totally forgot to film picking it out. It is off of my February TBR, so if you saw that video, you will know one of the books that I chose because it's part of the big old stack that's up there. So let's grab that. So the book that I am reading is A Werewolf's Guide to Seducing a Vampire. It is very cute right now. It's very lighthearted and fun. I think my earlier critiques of this series and this author's writing in particular stands true. It's a very surface level book. She sets up a lot of traumatic situations that immediately just get resolved by putting boundaries in place and addressing trauma and going to therapy and all the tone of the book is just a little too lighthearted for me to fully buy in that the characters are processing this in a healthy way. You know what I mean? But it's very cute. It's a lot of fun. I have to let my dog out. So our main characters in this one are Ben, who's a werewolf, and Eleanor, who is a French vampire succubus. And I love that idea for a character. She has such an interesting, complexity about her, which is why I wish that her trauma and experiences were treated a little bit more seriously, given a little more gravity by literally everyone in this book. Genuinely, her situation is being usurped by Ben's sister running for mayor. And just this is not spoilers. It is part of the summary. So Eleanor's whole story is that she is a 600-year-old vampire succubus who at age 30 got trapped in a crystal and has been forced to do these evil, horrible things like execute enemies and stuff like that, because part of the spell that's trapping her in this crystal also forces her to obey any command by the person who owns her crystal. And it falls into the hands of Ben in kind of a hilarious way. This is very much set in the modern world. It's contemporary, but it's a bit Vampire Diaries in that werewolves, witches, vampires, mythical creatures are all real, and they are normal citizens who live and walk among us out in the open. Nothing is secret, right? So we're following this unlikely pair, and it's very much Eleanor is stabby, aggressive, blunt, where Ben is very socially anxious and anxiety ridden, and just in general, Sarah Hawley always writes an opposites attract sort of romance, and normally it's a grumpy sunshine, which is fine, you know. But these are easy to read books. Don't get me wrong, I like them as much as I critique them. I just wish that she wouldn't insist on such a deep, dark, meaningful background for all of her characters, because it feels very fan fiction, I don't want to say juvenile, but kind of juvenile to set up such a serious idea and plot, and to just sort of will it away with without the time it normally takes to develop and heal from these things. She has a tendency of having people fall in love and commit themselves after a week of knowing each other. So, and they resolve lifelong traumas and hurts in the same time frame, just because someone new fell into their life. And there's a lot of platitudes given to healthy relationships and boundaries and therapy, and all the things that really should be like given time and space and meaning and more than like 5 days in order to like really go through it and feel the pain and in that way heal and like address those kind of lifelong traumas. So I'm trying to just take these books as what they are, which is a good time. But that is always the thought in the back of my head, is that like the thing that's preventing me from saying that these are 5-star reads and like puts them more in the 3.5 to 4-star category really is their treatment of like really severe trauma or mental health problems, you know, in kind of a weirdly light way, which is disappointing. So, you know, that's just kind of my spiel on this. But otherwise, I really do like the characters in this book. I identify with Ben a lot, and his love of knitting. So, like, that anyone who's a knitter and is a character in a book is, like, automatically going to win my heart. And you got to love a stabby girl. So, and that is, Eleanor is just loves to just stab people. So I respect that. I will check in when I am done with the book. I suspect our third act conflict is coming soon, which I think is going to be very interesting. So let's cross our fingers and hope that it gets juicy and dramatic again. Good morning, guys. It's the next day, and I have officially finished Werewolf's Guide to Seducing a Vampire. I really liked this book. I think in my last update and the intro, which was a little disjointed, and I may have to redo that. I was a little like harsh, a little critical of this book and this series in general. And I always feel like I say that. Like, I truly do feel that way. That Sarah Hawley likes to create these like really deep, like really just gut-wrenching, like traumatic experiences for these characters. And then because they've found love and did some Google searches, like in this book, it was very much like, oh, we did some Google searching and like we learned about these things called like emotional regulation and barriers. And so now I'm practicing that and everything's fine. I feel so much better. I don't like that. Like, I don't like that magic wand waving away of trauma, and it sort of like trivializes it a little bit, in my opinion. That said, these books are a genuinely good time. Like, they are very lighthearted, very easy to read. Like, these are like very much the books that I go to when I'm looking for a palate cleanser between series, or between books. Like if I'm in a reading slump, right, or I'm just like not interested in a book or reading anything, these are like so easy to pick up and to just fall into. They're like fun, easy stories. They are a little like childish, but that's kind of part of their appeal and their charm. So if you are just looking for like a super easy romance read, like this is like light paranormal romance. I would say it's very like contemporary based, like modern amenities are there. Like you have a pixie who's a social media, star. You have like very like, it feels very college townish, that these like none of these characters are in college, but maybe they should have been, because they're all very like pro community, pro co-op, pro environmental movement, pro small business, all of this kind of stuff that like I kind of wish that they, like, now that I've said that out loud, I'm like, I really wish that this was like a university setting, that these were like college students, because I think that would actually fit the vibe that they're going for.
as it is, like, I particularly liked this book because the main characters, Ben and Eleanor, were in their 30s, which was so refreshing that we're not watching high schoolers fall in love, that we are like talking about what life in your 30s is kind of like. Like, you have these obligations and these responsibilities to like yourself, to your business, to your family, to like, and you are now a fully fledged adult, so your like obligations have like real consequences and real responsibilities. And so like I liked like Ben's story arc of like being anxious and needing to like basically almost overburden himself, and to actually set boundaries. Like, I thought his character development was really, really good. um Eleanor's was like more the one that I was like levying criticism at. That like she had a lot of like trauma going on, and I didn't like the way it was addressed, honestly. That was like sort of the magic wand waving. But anyway, it is time to pick our next book. I have them up on my shelf. I don't really want to turn you guys around to see it because there's a mountain of just stuff that I need to clean up. Then the other one that I grabbed was The Courting of Bristol Keats. And something about this book is just calling to me that, like, a fae romance, I haven't read a fae, like, I'm not counting rereading part of ACOTAR last year as being a fae romance, because like I feel like that's its own separate thing. But I don't feel like I've read a fae romance in like probably at least 2 years now, if not a little bit longer. And like, this is a new fae romance. It just came out. I'm pretty sure it's a 2025 release, or like very end of 2024 release. I'm pretty I don't know. This one, maybe it's the cover. Maybe honestly, it's this character art on it that's calling to me. Like, I got to get to work now. I will see you guys later today, and I'll let you know which one I pick. Hey guys, we're going to do a quick prayer to the battery gods, because my battery is dying quickly. But I finally decided what I'm going to read next. I took a little break, got my house back in order, got my life back in order, and finally sit down and start reading again. Oh, I'm sorry. Something is just catching on my ponytail. So I've decided that I will be reading The Courting of Bristol Keats. I literally just picked this out right now. It's this beautiful fairy lead edition that I think I showed off earlier. And to be honest, I think I just want some like fae romance. I want some fae intrigue. I'm at least going to give this the first chapter. I do leave for a trip tomorrow, so I will have to leave this behind. And in that event, because I will 100% not be reading all of that tonight, I did stock up my Kindle. Got a new Kindle recently for Valentine's Day for my husband, which was very nice of him. My old Kindle is like a 2018 Kindle Paperwhite that was like, it was just doing its best, like we all were. It was just a little slower, took a little bit longer to download and to refresh and to turn the page and whatever. And I was not complaining about it, but when this showed up, I was very, very happy that this is like, I think just a 2021 Kindle Paperwhite, and it's amazing. It's so much better. But I did stock this up with a couple of options. The Midnight Arrow by Zoe Draven, which is a short story that was published like in a collection but has been separated out now, about a like fae romance. Zoe Draven normally writes
sci-fi alien romances, and I really like her writing and I like her sort of story arcs. She has a little bit of a formula, but I'm a I'm a formula girl. I respect the formula, you know? So I'd be interested to see what Zoe Dravin does differently, and maybe what tropes or what things she like keeps the same. So with that, I will let you go. I'm gonna check in a little bit. What a weekend. I am, as you can see, perhaps freshly laundered. I'm returned from my trip. I'm looking a little rumpled because I literally just got back, hopped in the shower, and like the clothes are getting washed, just kind of getting yourself sorted out again after just a plane trip. Like washing that feel of travel away is just, there's nothing like it. And I return with news. So I, over the course of this trip, had a little bit of time on the plane and some downtime in the evenings, and I was able to finish The Courting of Bristol Keats. I'm a bit bummed that I didn't read this like on the vlog to give like live updates, because I like really loved this book. It is the I feel like it's a very different kind of fae romance for me, but I thought it really worked. It is very much a slow burn. Like it is relationship building, politics, court intrigue. There's a bit of a training montage and like magical school element to it, but that was like not the focus. And I was so thankful for that. Like I'm very done with the like trials and tests trope. When that trope's done well, it's done like it's fine. But I just feel like it's so prevalent these days that like I'm no longer interested in it. You know what I mean? And this had that like element of discovery, of growing. There was a mystery, but the mystery tied into the politics, and there were secrets being kept, all while like a romantic relationship was brewing. And at every point through the twists and turns, it was those actions made sense. Like everyone, like I'm glad that there was no major like switch up in personality, that like everyone's decisions and choices like fit with what you would learn about characters. Like you would learn something about them and then they would make a decision that adhered to what you learned. So it's in a way that like you didn't really see it coming. It was just like as things developed, you saw characters make choices according to their backgrounds and their personalities and their experiences, and it was just so well done. It is a hefty book. It's like a 550-page book, and I think I was craving a long book. I was craving a plot that like developed over time. Although I will say the main plot developed very little. Like the thing that you thought was going to be the main focus of this book, not the main focus of this book. Like there's some progression, there's like a building tension, but it never culminates in anything. And this is the first book in a series, so I see it like building to a true crescendo, which I am so hopeful is going to be very satisfying. Now, the second book is due to release in November, allegedly, according to Google, and I am pumped. I'm like, now it's on my most anticipated book of the year, because the ending of this book was weird. I will say that. Like, I gave it 5 stars, but I really had to sit down and think with it because the ending, strange way to end a book. Just gonna say that. It left me a little unsatisfied in more ways than one.
Um, and it was like, why? Why? Like, end the book like a chapter earlier, or just don't end it that way. Don't introduce us to that trope. Like, lead off the next book with it. You know what I mean? Um, well, I guess if you read the book, you will know exactly what I am talking about. But I loved it. Bristol as a protagonist was flawed. She was very realistic. I although I thought she was a bit like forgiving, like for as much as this was like a slow burn, like Bristol and Tegan like really didn't seem to like each other at first, but they have this special magnetism. What I liked about it was that it Bristol like sort of came to terms with things, and then Tegan like just slowly like also came to terms with his feelings and his relationship, and like needing to kind of very slowly get to know each other and have like conversations and like, covert glances and things like that, if you will, was a very satisfying way to develop a relationship. Their fights were very realistic. Um, yeah, I mean, I liked the relationship aspect of the book. Kind of wish there was a bit more like satisfaction with the main mystery, which surrounded Bristol's father. Um, and uh, he, early on in the book, you're told that he's died, and then Bristol gets a hint that no, maybe he isn't dead. Maybe, right? And I wish that was a bit more. I wish that plot had been a bit more central throughout. Like I wish that it had at least been given little Easter eggs or little hints here and there, like more than we got, so that it wasn't so it felt sort of forgotten at one point in the book. I did like Bristol's reactions to her discoveries and things like that. I like that. So, in the end, according to Bristol, Keats did get 5 stars from me. My 5-star rating system is very much a like, did I love this? Is it going to live rent free in my head? And will I read it again? And this book definitely checks those boxes because of, like I said, the sort of the world building aspect, and the fact that we have a sort of worldly or like unannoying main character. Hey guys, welcome back. It's the next day yet again. I did 0 reading last night. The Super Bowl was fairly entertaining. Go Eagles! Glad they won. And my brain was just not in the reading mood, and so I decided to call a little bit of an audible. I wasn't going to talk about the novella that I read when I was traveling last weekend, but since we're a little short on reading content, I didn't really think 2 books was enough to end the blog with, or vlog, and I need to be done with this today in order to keep my schedule that I self-imposed for myself. So the book that I read while on the plane was The Midnight Arrow by Zoe Dravin. It is a small novella. It's about 200 pages. It was a little long. I should take that back. It's a smidge long for a novella. But I really liked it. And this definitely leaned into more of the romantasy category than what is normal for Zoe Dravin's writing. It did draw from her, so she tends to write like alien sci-fi romance that is available on Kindle Unlimited. I personally really like them. She uses like very common tropes in that genre, but I think she does them really well, and in a way that doesn't make me like fully uncomfortable the way that some other writers do. Um, but the Midnight Arrow definitely is more of a cozy romance. Like it's definitely set in a different world than her other um, characters. It's not a spin-off of any sort of series or anything. But it definitely, like, if you have the background knowledge of what some of her other works, you there are like little nods to that in some of the species that she talks about, but it's all self-contained and explained in the novella as well. I really loved the world building that she did in the short amount of time that she had. She like really explained it well. I actually kind of wish that this had been um, broadened into a full length book because I think that there was a really cool use of like magic and like being in tune with nature and kind of like that appreciation and like what would it be like on a planet or in a world where like they're um so the story is set in the above, and that is sort of the world that we know, that we interact with. It's sort of like low tech ish world in that they rely on it doesn't seem to have like modes of transportation other than like walking or like using animals and like carts and wagons. And you know, our particular female main character, Marion, lives out in the, I think it's called the Black Veil Forest, which is sort of this enchanted, dangerous forest that everyone avoids because the Severs, which are sort of like cursed beings, zombie beings, sort of roam the woods. And Marion talks about how she lives out there alone and she has come across these things, but for the most part, they leave her alone. She doesn't antagonize them and they just, I don't say ignore her, but they haven't acted maliciously towards her. So then along comes Lorik, our interesting traveling um, guy who no one really knows much about him. He's very mysterious and very, you know, uh, doesn't stay in one place. He shows up on market days, kind of says hello to everybody, talks to Marion, but then is for the most part like unavailable. Like I said, no one knows really where to find him or when he's going to show up. Um, and the two of them sort of have this connection, and that's where the novella sort of goes for. She Marion finds Lorik one day, shot by an arrow in the Black Veil Forest, not far from where she lives, and she has to nurse him back to health. And in so doing, she becomes kind of entangled in a larger plot, a larger uh, scheme that will sort of forever change her life. And um, yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was a really the story flowed. I really liked the like pacing of it. I liked the slow opening up, the slow choice of getting into this relationship. Um, I thought that the chemistry between the two of them was believable enough. Um, yeah, I don't know. I would really recommend it if you're looking for a short, quick um, fantasy romance, romantasy read, you know, in the coming days before Valentine's. This is definitely a good, easy palate cleanser if you're going between other books and other genres. So with that, I think we're gonna call it here. Look forward to my next one, which should be coming out hopefully the weekend after Valentine's Day, if I can get through some of the other books that I have planned. Um, cross your fingers we can find some time to do some reading this week. We're supposed to get lots of snow, so that should also help make some time. So yeah, with that one, I hope the books that you're reading are treating you well. I hope it's a 5-star. Any recommendations for anything that you might see on my shelf behind me, or fantasy, romance, romantasy books that you have read lately? Would love to hear them. Leave them in the comments below. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye.